Welcome back to the channel. It's your boy Jacob Jordan, and today we are going to be reacting to the Premier League is evolving again by Intercept. This is an up-and-coming football channel who I've been told is really good. We're gonna check out this video. We're gonna, let you know what I think about this topic. I want you guys to comment down below what you think about this. Let's have a nice discussion in the comment section below. Make sure you subscribe to my channel, Jacob Jordan Live. It's easy and it's free to support, content creators that are up and coming. And also make sure check out the Intercept if you enjoy, this video that I'm reacting to. A like and a subscription is the easiest way to support your boy as we go on this journey. Now, without any further ado, let's hop into the video. Stand. I'm a numbers guy. Gay.
Liverpool, who currently sit 4th in the Premier League, are only third.
Alright, let's get into the video, people.
As of the 6th of January, Liverpool, who currently sit 4th in the Premier League, are only 13 points ahead of Nottingham Forest, who are all the way in 17th. A pretty small margin for such a big gap in the table, but it gets a bit crazier. If we take Brentford in 7th on 30 points and look at Palace all the way down in 14th, there's only a 3-point gap.
Yeah, that's crazy.
3 points. That's one game.
That's crazy.
Palace beat Villa in their next game, and they could potentially move 7 places. And we're over halfway through the season. The Prem is as competitive as ever, and this is just one of the main reasons it's the best league in the world, right? I mean, if we look at all of the big leagues across Europe, each one has one or two teams that dominate each year. France has PSG, Germany has Bayern, Spain have Barca and Madrid. In theory, the Premier League's always been classed as the exception, but the last 8 titles in England were won by the same 2 teams. And in 6 of those 8 years, it was City. So how can we call this the best, most competitive league in the world, but then discredit other leagues for the exact same thing? The Prem is comfortably the richest commercial league in the world. It attracts the best players and coaches, and it's in a league of its own in a financial sense. But is the skill gap between the Prem and the other leagues really that big? In modern history, English teams haven't exactly dominated European competitions, often beaten by the best teams from other leagues.
True.
Last season,
That's true. I remember growing up, but and especially in the 2010s wasn't like the Prem teams was not on Real Madrid and Barcelona's level though. In the 2010s, like the Real Madrid and Barcelona, they literally had super teams. And even nowadays, they still have their own versions of super teams, but now the Prem has super teams as well. Arsenal, I would consider that in the grand scheme of things of European football, Arsenal have a super team. Man City have a super team. Liverpool have a super team. These 3 teams are super teams. Chelsea, they're very close to being considered a super team. They have a really good spine in terms of the midfield, the striker, and João Pedro. I think he's really starting to, grow into that role of being the starting striker for Chelsea. And then Rob Sanchez this year, he has been electric. But the 2 center halves for Chelsea, fries, nigga. I'm not gonna lie, bro. Fries in the bag, man. Disgusting, nasty. Chelsea gotta get rid of those 2 guys and bring some real ballers in.
He beat basically every good Premier League side on their way to the Champions League. So why do so many people, footballers included, regard the Prem as the undisputed best? It might be because the Premier League will always have something that other leagues don't, and something that other leagues never will. And it's yet again reminding us of why the English top flight is the pinnacle of world football.
But here's something I definitely did think during the 2010s. Even though I looked at Barcelona and Real Madrid as the pinnacle of football, and I still do in a sense, but I think the Prem is getting closer to that pinnacle right now. In the 2010s, I still looked at the Premier League as the best league in the world. Facts. Maybe I would say the second best league in the world, it was between La Liga and in the Bundesliga. Even though the Bundesliga was getting formed, the Bundesliga was still, back then, they had so much great talents coming out of the Bundesliga every year that it was entertaining to watch. But now, I would say the second best league in the world is definitely La Liga, and I would say Ligue 1. Ligue 1 is probably the most fun league to watch. Most fun league to watch, even though PSG is forming that league, the talent that's coming out of league in nowadays, ridiculous level, ridiculous.
At the end of last season, Opta updated their advanced power ranking metric that ranked over 10,000 teams on a scale from 0 to 100. The metric is calculated using over 2.5 million games, combining match outcomes, league and nationality, and quality of result to get an accurate representation of how good a team is. And while this is a great way to compare clubs, it's also a great way to compare leagues. If we look at the graphic for the 2024-25 season, two things stand out. Firstly, the best Premier League clubs are the best clubs in the world. Yes, I know PSG won the Champions League, and they're duly credited for their unbelievable season in the rankings. But Liverpool, Arsenal and City were 3 of the best 5 teams in the world. In fact, only 10 teams achieved a ranking of above 95, and half of them were in the Prem. It's weird to think that Brighton are currently the 15th best team in the world right now, as they only sit 10th in the league table. But if you don't want to trust the numbers too much, the eye test backs it up. PSG did get the better of Liverpool, Villa and Arsenal last season on their way to winning the Champions League, but all 3 ties were extremely tight. Spurs and United had dreadful seasons in the league, but both comfortably made the Europa League final.
Yep.
Chelsea weren't amazing in the league either, but still won the Conference League.
That's what I've been saying, man.
Palace finished 5th and 12th, but still won
Bro, even Man United, because I almost forgot about Man United, but I would say Man United is not that far off. Same like Chelsea, they're not that far off from being considered a super team. Man United's attack, a really good attack. They just need a really good striker to spearhead that attack. And then for their midfield, maybe two great box-to-box midfielders, and they're cooking. They have a great keeper now. They have their defense is good enough to go win the league and good enough to go win a champs. Really, they're missing 2 good midfielders and a good striker. Chelsea is missing 2 good center halves, and you could say a good starting left winger. So they're basically like the same place. They're like 3 pieces. Both United and Chelsea are 3 pieces off of being able to go for the league year in and year out. And I'm telling you, the Premier League is this close, right, to being a 5-horse race. 5-horse race. 5-horse race. Pool, City, Arsenal, Chelsea, United. Crazy.
Domestic trophies. And this leads on to the second point, parity. The Premier League peaks slightly higher than the other top 4 leagues in Europe, but its average is where it really stands out. Looking back at the graphic, we can see that the spread between the best and worst teams in a league is much smaller in the Prem compared to the other 4 leagues. Like, much smaller. According to the metric, Sunderland, the statistically worst side in the league before this season started, are at a similar level to the lower mid-table sides in Serie A and the Bundesliga.
That's
the
crazy.
Next worst teams, Burnley and Wolves, would theoretically compete for Europe in La Liga, and even have a long shot at second in Liga. And if we change the teams to their league average, for example, this is where we can really see the levels. Only 1.5 metric points separate the league average between the 2nd and 5th best leagues in the world. 5.7 metric points separate first from second. The average Premier League club is considerably better than the average La Liga club.
Yeah, that's true.
Club. You get the point. But
True.
while we'll never get a flawless performance indicator in football, regardless of how advanced the statistics become, this seems to be aging extremely well. La Liga is the consensus next best league in football, with many people believing it actually trumps the Prem with its historic dominance in the Champions League. And to be fair, clubs like Real Madrid and Barcelona have peaked as high as football clubs can really peak. But in the competition this season, Premier League teams have won 9 out of 10 of their matchups with their Spanish opposition. Liverpool are in one of the worst runs of form in their club's recent history, and still managed to beat Real Madrid. City did the same, Arsenal destroyed Atleti and Bayern, and even Spurs and Newcastle, who have both struggled in the league, managed to cruise past Villarreal and Bilbao. Yeah. But even though Arsenal are favourites, there's still a good chance the eventual Champions League winner won't be an English club. But I think I know why. A great example is the Arsenal versus PSG tie in the Champions League.
Now, I'm going to try and predict what I think he's going to say. I think it really has to do with the league. I think the Premier League being so competitive is why like English teams don't go far in the champs, because by the time the knockout stage of the champs comes around, most of these guys are like on their last legs, because the Premier League, it drains so much of the players' energy. That's why when a team is fully rested, like when Man City's fully rested, because they've been dominating the league, they don't have to focus on the league anymore. Or when United won their treble, when they didn't really have to focus on the league, they got the league out of here easily, quickly. if you really look at the size of these squads, they're good enough to have two squads, big enough to have two squads, and the quality is good enough to have two squads. So they're able to rest all the most important and impactful players for these matchups. And when it comes down to it, towards the knockout stage of the UCL, then they don't really have to worry too much about who they're facing because their players are rested, you know? So that's why I think Man City got that treble because the squad was built to hunt a treble.
Yeah. We know that PSG beat Arsenal and went on to win the tournament, but I want to know what kind of situation each team was in leading up to the fixture. So let's look at PSG, rated around 97.5 on the Opta ranking. The three games they played in and around the tie with Arsenal were against Nice, Strasbourg and Montpellier. They had already mathematically won Ligue 1 nearly 4 weeks prior, and their primary focus was the Champions League. Arsenal were rated about 98.75, and they played Palace, Bournemouth and Liverpool. And whilst the title was out of reach, they were still battling to keep their place in the top 4 to guarantee Champions League football next season. PSG were undoubtedly in a much more comfortable...
Exactly, and that's the difference in the leagues. That's the difference in the league, right? Real Madrid, Barcelona, they don't have to worry about top 4 if they don't win the league. They're good. Bayern Munich, they don't have to worry about top 4. They don't have to worry about the Champions League if they don't win the league. They're chilling. Most of the times, Bayern Munich, PSG, they're going to win the league like 3-4 weeks before like the knockout stages of the UCL or during the knockout stages of the UCL. There's not really a lot of times in the past that I remember that the league has really been going down to the deadline day. Only sometimes, only certain seasons. And you know it's really an outlier because the media would make it a big thing. Oh my goodness, Dortmund has a chance to win the Bundesliga and it would be in all the titles. Oh my goodness, Bayer Leverkusen has a big chance to win the title. It'd be all in the media. Same thing if PSG has like a head-to-head with Monaco or Marseille or Lens, it will be in the title. It will be all over the new headlines because people don't expect this from those leagues. So, like, this is why people say the Premier is the best because look, like, this is ridiculous. Look at the difference between
position. So let's look at the difficulty of games they played to really see how fair the metric is across the leagues. PSG played Nice, who were rated at an 85.4, Strasbourg at an 86.3, and Montpellier at a 77.2. Arsenal, on the other hand, played a Palace team that were ranked at 91.2, Bournemouth at a 90.5, and Liverpool at 100. In the 3 games around the tie, Arsenal played an average rating of 93.9, whereas similarly ranked PSG played a team average of 83. So while PSG did deserve to beat Arsenal, you do have to put it into context with the strength of their schedule. PSG had basically nothing to worry about in the league. Even if they hadn't already sealed first place, they were leaving London to play a team ranked 376th in the world. That would be like Alcaraz winning a Grand Slam and then having to play Paul Jubb in the next few days. You probably don't even know who that is. In fact, you definitely don't know who that is.
Yeah, I don't know.
Meanwhile, Arsenal had to worry about the eventual league winners and the eventual FA Cup winners. It's almost no wonder that English teams struggle to go all the way in the Champions League. And funnily enough, when they do, they rarely actually win any other trophies that year. I'm sure if you switch Arsenal and PSG's situations last season, Arsenal might have had a much better chance of getting their first Champions League trophy.
Treble.
But I guess we'll never know.
Funnily enough, a treble for Arsenal.
Not one of the 6 games that either club played in and around their tie were won by either team. Were that PSG?
That's why an Arsenal treble or a Premier League treble, it should be way more respected than a treble from any other club. Than a Barcelona treble, than a Real Madrid treble, than a Bayern Munich treble. The only other league I could look at and say, okay, that treble is respectable is Serie A. Because Serie A, you gotta worry about. Let's say you're Napoli. You gotta worry about AC Milan. You gotta worry about Inter. You gotta worry about wait a second, guys. Wait. Time out. Juventus. You know what I mean? You gotta worry about Juventus. You gotta worry about what's a 5th team we can throw in there? You got Napoli, Juventus. AC Milan, Inter. Let me know in the comments, bro. My mind, but you get what I mean. You get what I mean. You got to worry about a lot more clubs in Serie A compared to any other league other than the Prem.
Team actually as good as they seemed. Look, I know a lot of you will still have your doubts, so let's take an even deeper dive into the numbers. Not from a general league-to-league point of view, but from a quality and talent point of view. Because the best way to decide which is the strongest league in the world is to see which one has the highest quality games, week in, week out. Someone once joked that Messi couldn't do it on a cold, rainy night in Stoke. And at that time, Messi was basically becoming the best version of the best player the sport's ever seen.
Yeah.
So I don't think he was being completely serious. But what he meant was that the Premier League has a level of physicality, intensity and grit from top to bottom, which separates it from any other league in the world. And he might have been onto something. The Premier League last season had by far the fewest passes per shot compared to the other 4 leagues. Coupled with one of the shortest passing distance averages and the quickest time to pass, leads to the most sharp, ultra-fast and demanding level of football. Out of possession, teams need to press constantly, while facing quick and frequent short passes, while the opposition waits for openings. Then, in the final third, teams need to defend against excessive shooting and direct attacks on goal. And the pace doesn't just come in the final third. The average speed of players in the Premier League...
Oh yeah, Roma!
Players sprint more,
Roma,
sprint
chat.
faster and sprint longer
Roma,
distances.
I forgot about
They just
Roma.
move more in general. Premier League players are sprinting for 2.68% of the time.
Don't call me a fake fan in the
2.4%
comments, please.
in the second place Serie A. This might not seem like much, but over the course of a whole season, it really adds up. If you don't want to take my word for it, just listen to countless Premier League players and managers that have admitted how the jump in intensity is so prevalent. Ekitike and Slot have already come out this season and addressed the physicality, and they've only been here for a year or so. Cucurella, who's had seasons of experience in La Liga, stated that the Prem is just a level above.
Yeah.
And the physicality and speed mean that you just have to think faster in every moment. Obviously, this isn't the story in every single game, but these trends are more evident across the length of a season, and it explains why the pace and intensity of the Prem proves so difficult for so many foreign players. It seems to go without saying that most big transfers into the Prem end up falling short of their expectations, especially when they come from foreign leagues across Europe. Big money signings that can't adapt to the league in one way or another and end up falling to the bench or being shipped back to Europe for half the price. Recent players that come to mind like Gyökeres, Voltemada and Wirtz haven't been terrible, but you can see how the league has caused some growing pains in the first half of the season.
Wirtz has been
These are
terrible.
players who have really shown in the Champions League before.
Gyökeres
More
has been
notable
dog
signings
shit.
back in the day might include Di Maria, Morata or Depay, who look destructive everywhere else they've played, even in World Cup finals, but can never quite get it going in the Prem. The same thing happens in reverse. How many times have we seen someone struggle in the Premier League go on to have a career breakthrough as soon as they switch leagues? McTominay went from being a scapegoat rotation player for United to the Serie A Player of the Year in just a few seasons. And I'm not saying
That's
McTominay
crazy,
didn't always have that potential inside him.
McTominay ran him so
Someone
much
who
aura in
decent
Serie A.
in England looks like Zidane in Italy. Of course, there's many factors that play into transfers over and underperforming in different leagues. Language barriers, cultural adaptation, team chemistry, but there's no doubt that the quality of the league is one of the most important. And the main problem for these overseas players is that this gap in skill, speed and competitiveness is growing faster than ever. Looking back at the previous Opta rankings from last season, the average Premier League team was rated at an 87.9. Not too far off the Bundesliga, but this season it's increased to 90.5, whereas the Bundesliga's fallen to an 85, and this makes sense. Bar maybe one or two exceptions, every team has major attacking threats, a competent back line, and a real chance of winning at every stadium in the league, not to mention the superstars in every team. You might keep Semenyo quiet on a Tuesday night, but then Igor Thiago is tearing you apart on the weekend, and the anyone can beat anyone gimmick isn't, well, a gimmick. This season, every single team has poetically beat a league rival in a beautiful circle of parity. Let's start with the struggling Wolves, who got their first league win of the season the other day against West Ham, a comfortable 3-0 performance. But West Ham beat Newcastle earlier this season 3-1. Newcastle beat Palace 2-0, who beat Liverpool 2-1. Liverpool beat Villa 2-0, who then beat Arsenal 2-1 to hand them one of their only losses this season. Arsenal managed to beat Brentford 2-0, who beat Everton, who beat United. United then beat Brighton 4-2, who beat Man City 2-1. City beat Fulham 5-4 in probably the game of the season.
Yeah, that was a
Fulham could only
great
score
game.
one against Sunderland, but they beat them, who then went and beat Bournemouth, who beat Forest. Forest beat Spurs, and Spurs beat Leeds. And even though Chelsea lost to Leeds, they beat Burnley 2-0. And that
Bro, we haven't beat Leeds this season. which is actually embarrassing.
Terrible Burnley side managed to beat Wolves 3-2 to complete the perfect chain. Not only is it insanely impressive and competitive for this to happen only halfway through the season, it's more the fact that all these results are so unpredictable. I genuinely watch games with zero idea of what's about to happen. It's complete box office entertainment. The best part is, it feels like it's come a long way from when City and Liverpool would destroy everyone and get nearly 100 points every season. And this is why the Prem is really taking the best league in the world crown at the moment. It's always been the most popular, the richest, the highest level of football, but now it's hyper competitive and completely unpredictable. A lot of this comes down to the structure. The skill gap between the best and worst teams, as well as all the teams in between, is so much less significant than it used to be, and the mid-table teams are so much more sustainable than the ones in other leagues. Every year it seems like the Brightons, Brentfords and Bournemouths get raided by the top six, losing all their star power and looking like relegation favourites. But every season they seem to find and develop even more talent, and look just as good, if not better. I mean, Bournemouth lost most of their back line last season, and were second in the league after 8 weeks. Brentford lost their captain, manager, 2 20-goal-a-season forwards and other key players, and they're competing for Europe. Brighton had a 7-3-2 record against all of the big six last season, but then lost most of their games to teams in the bottom half. It's actually unbelievable. And this doesn't just stop in the top flight. The Championship is sometimes labelled as the best league in the world, for the same reasons: complete unpredictability. It might not get the same coverage or hype, but the stats really back it up. If we revisit the Opta Power rankings from earlier, the Championship has the smallest range between the best and worst club, at just 9 metric points. And Liga is actually closer to the Championship in terms of skill level than it is to the Prem. To put this into perspective, the Eredivisie had a range of 24, and if we compare them visually, only the 3 best Dutch teams are better than the best Championship team, and the worst Dutch team are as good as Bromley, a strong League 2 side, or the Barcelona B team. By the end of every Championship season, the middle of the table is a war zone, and there's always drama on the last day. This means that decade-defining events are decided by the finest of margins. You have teams lose the playoff final and crumble to non-league, whereas the winners will be established in the Premier League in the next few years. Forest beat Huddersfield in the 2022 playoff final, and they're playing in Europe, whereas the Terriers are struggling to escape League One. But one thing which is impossible not to mention is arguably the main reason that we're talking about how amazing the Premier League has become in the first place. Money. The Prem is a financial giant.
Facts.
This broadcasting deal has recently passed over 4 billion euros, more than the other 4 leagues combined.
That's
not
ridiculous.
To mention this was a 16% increase from the previous deal, whereas leagues like the Serie A and Liga are actually losing money on their current deals. The Premier League wage bill is higher, the club's owners are richer, the revenue is ridiculous. Premier League players on average get paid £3.2 million per year, much more than any other league. The Prem genuinely dwarfs everyone else from a commercial point of view. It even brings the most fans to each game, with the Championship and League One both being top 10 worldwide leagues in terms of attendance. But with all this money came a problem, and there was a stigma that you could just buy your way to the top. Man City are a prime example. Chelsea have spent billions and basically paid for European football, and even newer teams like Newcastle and Villa are benefiting from huge investments. But this season just feels different. Liverpool spent nearly 500 million and somehow got worse. Clubs are spending and big signings are coming into the Prem, but many are struggling. Spending seems to have lost some of its power. Obviously it's still important, but it's no longer the be-all and end-all. Having a strong structure is equally, if not more important, and it's clear to see why when you look at clubs like Brentford, Palace and Brighton. Even Arsenal, who are top of the league by 6 points, are a prime example of strong foundations and trust in the process. Yes, they've spent a lot on players like Eze and Gyökeres, but they're not even starting every game. Long-term investments like Gabriel, Saliba and Raya are paying dividends as the best defence in the world. Academy products like Saka and Lewis Skelly are just as important. Don't get me wrong, some clubs will always be able to spend as they please, but as proven by United and Chelsea, you need a lot more than just money. When you find the balance of investment and structure and trusting your manager, the results speak for themselves. And this is a massive wound the Premier League is finally healing from. As a matter of fact, 5 of the top 6 spenders last season are struggling, and the only one that isn't is Aston Villa. And this is what makes the league so special. Every team, no matter how big or small their stadium is, or how rich their owners are, have figured out how they can succeed with the resources they have, and it's making for the most thrilling, entertaining fixtures every single week. The ruthlessness of not just the Premier League, but the English League pyramid makes it the best footballing country in the world. Whether it's the excitement, competitiveness, or the rivalries, England has it all. And the top division, the Premier League, encapsulates that perfectly. This season, it's taken yet another leap, and and it's reaching record-breaking heights in terms of viewership and parity. The end of 2025 is a great time to reflect on what's been an amazing first half of the season, but if that's anything to go by, 2026 might be even better.
It's a great video. It's a great video. Guys, let me know what you think in the comments down below. I think he made some great points. You know, but I'm not gonna lie, you know I'm a tribal fan. I want Chelsea to be able to rise to the top of the Prem again. So I don't know how I feel about him saying that we don't have a good structure. I think our structure is all right. But let me know what you think in the comments down below. It's been your boy Jacob Duran. I'll see y'all later. Peace.